Hello and welcome to the Fellows Interviews. My name's Crosbie Lorimer and I'm an ambassador for the Landscape Foundation of Australia. Today we're talking to landscape architect Brittany Johnston, who received a grant from the Foundation for her research which is entitled Nature as Infrastructure. Brittany, tell us a bit about the scope and what brought you to this piece of research.
Thanks, Crosbie. I am a landscape architect by background. I worked in commercial practice for about 5 years. I've always been really interested in the role that landscape architects can play outside of just our discipline. And that background, moving into government side and then now into multidisciplinary practice is really what gave me a lot of the context for developing my tool and the reason behind why I wanted to pursue nature and particularly looking at nature as infrastructure as a topic.
And indeed you're uniquely placed as a landscape architect working in such a large engineering company at Oricon. That must have gone a long way towards giving you that spur for this work, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I entered multidisciplinary practice, I realised how adaptable and versatile landscape thinking is. It's a real value add for our industry, and it was really great to be amongst other professionals who valued and sought us out as systems thinkers.
And the idea behind this research is really to provide a tool, if you like, for all of the different professions, indeed all of the participants in the built environment, to understand where the pieces fit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the driver behind why I developed the toolkit was really in understanding and unpacking the idea of nature. I started out really wanting to understand how we can better quantify the value of green and natural assets, particularly in urban environments. It was driven by my personal experiences, seeing them kind of constantly degraded in the project work that we did, often left till the end of a project and then eroded. So I really wanted to elevate how we value and how other disciplines value and quantify the value of natural assets.
You were talking about systems thinking, and of course this underpins all the philosophy of First Nations thinking. That presumably is a very key part of your research.
Nature, from a Western point of view, is one element, but the way that Indigenous people view nature or country is all intertwined. So I think it is very closely tied in with what I'm sort of trying to elevate, which is how interlinked all of the benefits of nature are. And that's really tied in with caring for country. A lot of the benefits and features that pop up in the toolkit are actually related to First Nations concepts or caring for country, equity, mental health, physical health. So there's really close ties to how we as landscape architects and built environment professionals work and relate with the idea of country.
Hear to that. Trying to distill that into a tool that people can use where they've got a reference point to start where things go and come from, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of the research that I was doing, it was very siloed. I think that's very common in a sort of industry where we're kind of getting more specialised. And so I wanted to try and lift a lot of the language and the research back up to a central resource that was accessible, easy to understand. Looking at nature and its benefits, it covers environmental benefits, which as landscape architects we're very familiar with. We also know often of the health benefits. We're less across the economic benefits, but they're all quite intimately tied. And so I wanted to bring all of those benefits into one resource that was accessible for the broader built environment industry.
And tell us what this tool looks like.
The tool is a graphic resource. I built it on Adobe software, which is like a precursor to a website. I wanted to be able to bring the research into a central resource. The tool being interactive, you can hover over certain elements and it brings up the features and benefits of that topic. So we have environmental, economic, built environment, policy, and health and well-being sort of categories as they apply to nature as infrastructure. And then within that, there's a series of key concepts, features and benefits. And when you hover over one of those, it highlights all of the other relevant key features and benefits.
You must, as you went along, there must have been moments you're thinking, am I going to crack this or do I need to change that? How's it evolved since you first made the application?
It's definitely evolved a lot. I quite purposefully had a fairly open-ended question at the beginning because I sort of knew how I worked, how my brain worked and how much I would need to pivot during, because it was a big concept, it was a big topic, and I knew as I spoke to people, as I did more research, that it would get more refined.
What made it appealing for you to go to the Landscape Foundation of Australia for this grant?
I really liked the way that the Landscape Foundation approached landscape thinking through a multidisciplinary lens, which was really relevant to me.
Also, the Landscape Foundation, of course, has all these contacts, so that must have been useful for you when you were starting the work.
Absolutely. I met with Linda and Noel quite a few times along my journey. Linda in particular was a great sounding board and a resource for me. And she provided me with many sort of ideas, contacts, people I should consider getting in touch with. And that really helped me chart how I should approach the project and the research.
And this must be really important career-wise for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Being granted time and effort and money to be able to explore this was super valuable. The contacts that I was able to reach out to and my network that I have built both internally and externally has been super valuable. When I attended Climate Week, there was groups and new contacts that I met there that has really expanded my sphere of influence, but my sphere of interest as well.
Fantastic, Brittany. I think there'd be an awful lot of landscape architects who'd be very bowed by the scale and ambition of this project, and yet you've remained unswervingly positive in all the discussions I've had with you. So huge congratulations for adopting the long view and indeed modelling really clear-headed thinking, and we're really looking forward to seeing the final outputs.
Thanks, Crosbie. It's been a journey and I hope it's not the end. The toolkit is likely to evolve. I hope it will evolve. It's being taken up actually at my own company as a resource for educating a lot of our interdisciplinary practitioners. So thank you very much, and thank you to the directors for all of their support. I really appreciate it.